Hello, everybody. My name is Derek Demeter. I'm with the Emil Bueller Planetarium here at Seminole State College. And joining us this evening, we have two amazing people that are joining us tonight for our Lunar New Year celebration. Joining us today, we have Catherine Hunt with the Ingram Planetarium from Sunset Beach, South Carolina. Hey, Kat, how you doing?
Good. How are you? North Carolina.
North Carolina. Oh, the Carolinas. We'll just say the Carolinas. So how about that? Okay. Thank you. Yes, North Carolina. Remember that. It's very important. So Sunset Beach, North Carolina. So thank you, Kat, for joining us. And here also joining us tonight is Anthony Leung. And he is, yes, there we go. And he's joining us from sunny South Florida, right?
Yep.
All
West
right.
Palm Beach.
For those that are watching on YouTube, we're doing this late, obviously January 31st, day before Lunar New Year in 2022. And it was quite cold here in Florida, much colder than we're normally used to. And especially Anthony, being in South Florida, did you survive?
Yep. Some of the iguanas were a little frozen, but otherwise we made it through. It was great to have that cool weather.
Did you have any fall on you at all, or any
no, actually I went to my office this morning, and right where I normally park, there was one just laying there. He didn't make it back.
Well, hopefully he thaws out and starts moving around and all that. So anyways, what we have tonight with you is basically talking about lunar calendars and how they're related to this celebration for the Lunar New Year. So we're going to be talking about not only traditional celebrations and various different aspects of those, but of course, this is where Kat and I run planetariums. This is an astronomy, thing. So what we're going to do first is we're going to talk a little bit about some astronomy and how this all ties in and how astronomy has helped influence many of these celebrations. And to do that, I think Kat has a really amazing kind of setup she has, and she's going to talk to you about some really cool stuff related to that. So, Kat, I'm going to go ahead and take it from here.
Thanks so much, Derek. So yeah, it's really interesting. We take for granted our calendar, and we kind of think of it as this very fixed thing, but really, calendars are quite subjective. There are currently, as of this year, about 40 calendars that people all over the globe use. Now, of course, most of us in more industrial westernized cultures do still use the Gregorian calendar for business and things like that. But culturally, a lot of countries still do use different calendars. And that's where many of our holidays come in. And that's why many holidays kind of bounce around through the Gregorian year, because they're based on completely different calendars. But from an astronomical perspective, all of our timekeeping systems are based on the motion of Earth, the moon, and those two objects around the sun. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to pull up my astronomy software, and it's certainly not as cool as it is in the planetarium. I do apologize, but hopefully you'll get kind of an idea, a basic idea of some of the celestial motions that guide time for us here on Earth. So right now we are actually on February 1st, which is the Lunar New Year for a lot of us, including the Chinese New Year, and for me, the Korean New Year. And you'll see we're in the middle of the day. It's about 9 a.m. And if you look over to the left of the sky, pretty close to the sun, you'll see a label that says Earth's moon. So the moon right now is in a new moon phase, and I'm going to turn off the daylight, and we're going to kind of look at the moon and talk about how it changes over the course of its orbit around Earth. I just want to make sure, does everyone see this okay, Derek?
Yes, we do. I see it. Do you see it, Anthony?
Perfect.
Yep, I see the landscape.
All right.
Every now and again, it will get to a different window, and I just like to double check. So like magic, I'm going to turn the daylight off, and you will see the sun is still there, but there is no blue sky because we've turned daylight off. And if you look really closely, there's kind of this roundish object in the area of that Earth's moon label. We're going to just magnify that very quickly and see it a little bit more up close and in person. Now, the new moon is, of course, still there, but one, it's always up during the day. So that's one reason why you won't see it very well, if at all. But also, during the new moon phase, we are seeing the whole night side of the moon. So I'm going to bring this a little bit more into focus. It's going to be very, very hard for you to see at this particular moment. But there is right here where my little hand is, the Earth's moon, and we're looking at 100% of the night side of Earth's moon. Now we're going to go back in time a little bit to see how it changes. So a few days ago, hopefully it will not move out of my way. I might have to change a setting or two. Let's come back to Earth and then go back in time that way. Come back to Earth, and we're going to go backwards a few days to about January 25th. Now here, we're still at about 9 a.m., but if you look over in the southwest, the moon is in a different position than it was when we first started, and you can also see more of the moons. We're going to magnify that. You can kind of see what that looks like more up close and in person. Now, this is what we call, it's a little bit more, but it's approximately a third quarter moon. So you can see part of the day side here, and then you have the night side here. This is a waning phase. So these are up in the really early morning hours when most of us are sleeping, and up partly during the day. Now, we'll come back and see one more moon phase very quickly. This will be very familiar for everyone. We're going to go back even further. I'm actually going to go back by the hour too. We're going to go to midnight. We're going to go back several days. And around the 18th, give or take a day or two, the Earth's moon was in its full phase. So when observers, including now, but when observers of old would look up and see the moon, they noted that it changed its shape, which is related to how much of the day side and how much the night side that we see. And they could keep track of time using that cycle. It's roughly 28 days. So whereas the months that most of us are used to are about 30, 31 days in length, with the exception of February, of course, the moon months are about 28 days in length. Now, the reason we see phases, we're going to come out to outer space, and this might be a little bit difficult to see again, but Earth is right here in the center. This is Earth. We've shrunken it down so that it doesn't get in the way. And the sun is over here at the top, a little bit towards the right, and it's shining down on Earth. So Earth has a day side and a night side. And then the moon right now is over to the left. And now I will go through time and you can see how it changes. So this is about full moon, and you can see Earth is in the middle and the sun is on the other side. So you're seeing 100% of the day side of the moon, which is full moon. And then it circles around over the course of the month until it's between Earth and the sun, roughly. And you can barely see it now because it is in the new moon phase, which is what it's going to be tomorrow. So this is one way that they were able to tell time. Now, another way, this is a little bit more related to what we do with the Gregorian calendar, is they use the sun. Let's pop back home, and we're going to go back to the daytime. about to noon. That's approximately when the sun is at its highest point. Not exactly, but it's good enough for this particular illustration. So this is the highest point the sun is in the sky right now. It's pretty low because we are in the winter time. But as we get into spring and eventually summer, the highest point of the sun will change and will get higher and higher and higher. So this we can describe with the solstices and the equinoxes. Winter solstice is the shortest day of the year when the sun is at its lowest point and it's up for the shortest amount of time for whichever hemisphere is experiencing that solstice. In summer, it's at its highest point in the sky. And the equinoxes, spring and fall, it's kind of in the middle. Now, some lunar calendars do kind of utilize both. And that comes in part with agriculture as well. So there's a real big reason historically to keep track of both the sun and the moon. The moon was a little bit easier to observe in terms of its changes, but the sun helped with agriculture. So a lot of the calendars are related to that. But some calendars use constellations instead. For example, in many parts of India, their historical calendars utilized what we call Aries. It's a zodiac constellation, which Derek will be talking a little bit more about. And that was the first constellation of the year. So their new year would relate to that. And their new year is actually this year going to be around October, and that's Diwali. So there are many different lunar calendars as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to pass the torch over to Derek. He's going to talk a little bit more about the zodiac and its relationship to timekeeping.
All right. Thank you, Kat. So that was a great kind of introduction to the way the moon moves around the earth and our travels around the sun, and how these early people were looking up in the night sky and trying to figure out all this stuff, and trying to build a reliable way of timekeeping through the use of obviously the sun and the moon. Now, of course, this is the Lunar New Year celebration show, so of course we're going to be talking about the moon. And in these particular cultures, particularly in East Asia and other parts of the world, we see a lot of different cultures that instead of using the sun as a timekeeping device, they use the moon. In fact, actually, the moon is one of the earliest ways of keeping track of time, as Kat mentioned. But what I wanted to talk about, of course, the Lunar New Year, specifically, when we hear these things like the Year of the Tiger and all this stuff, a lot of it stems from places in East Asia. And many of the earliest traditions of this date back to ancient China. And what we're going to look at right now is kind of look at how this whole concept of the Lunar New Year and whatnot came from in terms of the astronomical side of things. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here. And I'm going to just share a presentation here showing basically the lunar calendar through the eyes of these ancient Chinese astronomers, astrologers. And the reason why I say astronomers and astrologers is back in ancient times, astronomers and astrologers were basically one and the same thing. And particularly in ancient China, they were usually hired by the emperor or royalty to kind of predict their future events through the positions of the stars. And a lot of the things that they observed through the sky had influence on their daily lives. So in reality, back in ancient times, all across the world, you see a lot of this hybrid astronomy and astrology connecting to one another. So in this particular case, we see that the ancient Chinese actually built a series of groups of stars. Now, if you come to my planetarium or Kat's planetarium, you would get a program about what's up in the night sky, and we talk about the different constellations that you can see. But those are just the constellations that are used in today's world with the International Astronomical Union, that basically borrowed from the ancient Greco-Roman constellations, things like Orion and Perseus and Cassiopeia and all these other constellations that we hear about all the time when we visit a planetarium, especially here in the Western world. But all cultures all over the world had their versions of star patterns in the sky. Now, in the case of the path of the moon across the sky, these people believe that the moon traveled through various different what we call lodges or mansions that were broken up into 4 distinct regions of the sky that were connected to the 2 equinoxes and to the solstices. So we have the spring region, which was ruled by the azure dragon of the east. And then the summer months, we see the moon travel into the vermilion bird of the south, which was seen as summer. And then we have the white tiger of the west, which would represent the autumn. And then we have the black tortoise of the north, which would represent winter. And these 4 distinct regions are at the kind of the intersections of these areas where we see the lunar mansions. So you can see that there are these different patterns of stars as the moon traveled through the sky and finally made its way through, of course, coming to where the celestial equator meets, which we see at the equinoxes, and we see the connection with the solstices. 4 distinct regions dominated by these 4 elemental animals. And these elemental animals, the azure dragon, the vermilion bird, they also represented the 4 distinct elements: water, earth, air, and fire, connected to that as well. So there's a lot of connections to this. But we see the moon will travel through all of these 28 lunar lodges or houses through these distinct seasons. And when it basically, think of it like a game board, think of it like a board on, you see like Monopoly or any other classic board game, the moon will eventually finish its cycle and end and begin again. Now, when this happens, this is what we call Lunar New Year. Now, of course, the orbit of the moon is not fixed. The dates, we kind of arbitrarily made it 30 days each month. But if you actually observe the moon, as Kat was showing, the phases of the moon, the position of the moon across the sky each month, it does change. And the date at which Lunar New Year's occurs, it depends on where the moon begins its next cycle. So it can actually be on different dates throughout the year, or throughout the years, I should say. So in reality, this week or this year, Lunar New Year will be on a particular date, and it might shift based on the connection to the path of the moon through these distinct lunar lodges or mansions as it travels across the sky. Now, later on, when especially Taoism and Confucianism and other elements of ancient Chinese philosophy and religion started to implement into the culture, Buddhism too, we see the rise of what we call today the kind of traditional Chinese zodiac, the 12 animals of the zodiac. So you hear a thing like the year of the tiger and things like that. And it actually stems from this idea that to the ancient Chinese, they saw a king star travel across the sky, and that star had a period at which it started in one part of the sky and traveled across over the course of 12 years. And that star is actually the planet Jupiter. In fact, a lot of cultures around the world saw Jupiter as a king or a regal star in the sky. And they connected that to the Jade Emperor. And the Jade Emperor was said to have invited 12 animals to represent his 12 years of travel across the sky in honor of this. So we see these cycles of the zodiac from this celebration. So there are 12 animals that were able to, they had this great race in the sky that they would race to see if they can get to the Jade Emperor first. And we see dragon, the tiger, the sheep, dog, monkey, rabbit, horse, snake, ox, rooster, and pig. But actually the rat outran the cat. It was actually the rat was cunning and actually tricked the cat. And so according to kind of old, traditional Chinese legends, that the rat and the cat are constantly at war with each other because of this particular incident that happened during this great race. So we see this kind of origins of this zodiac, that when you hear the year of the tiger and things like that, it comes from this cycle of 12 years connected to the star, or to the planet Jupiter. Of course, back in ancient times, the stars were planets, comets, stars, just normal stars, novas, which would be considered new stars. In fact, the ancient, specifically people of East Asia, had some of the best star charts and star observations. And over the course of thousands of years, many of the ways that we know about supernovas and other things actually come from people in East Asia, particularly in Korea, Japan, China, and other areas of that region of the world, because of their constant desire to look up in the sky to see those changes in the stars, because to them, the changes in the stars meant changes going on in the heavens above, which connected to their cycles and their traditions and their ways of life. But you can see how all this is connected to this early observation of the stars, looking up in the sky, figuring things out, and how that it translates to what we have today with things like celebrating the Lunar New Year's, and of course things like the zodiac, the Eastern zodiacs, particularly the Chinese zodiac. So I thought that was a kind of a really cool way to kind of emphasize all this together and to really celebrate this amazing tradition and culture associated with the night sky. So next time you look at Jupiter in the sky, think about it, think of it, connect that, as well as the motions of the moon. So now that we have a better grasp of, these traditions and astronomy, it's now time to kind of look at kind of how these early things came about and how they were to bring forth these celebrations that we have today. And to do that, Kat and Anthony, you both are people that celebrate this wonderful time, and both of you have some really cool ways that you celebrate. And what I like to do right now is kind of share some of those things. And I think what we'll do first, we'll give Anthony some time to chat. So we'll have Anthony hop on here, and there he is. Hey, Anthony, and
Hey.
Anthony, we'll kind of let you kind of steer the next section on, some of the things that you enjoy about this time, some of the things that you've spent your life, and you of course you have children, you have family. What's important about this time of year to you?
The main thing is, just like with a lot of holidays and so forth, this family time. Now, in this case, I don't have a lot of, my kids are first generation here. I have two beautiful daughters. And so, we do the best we can. But then my parents are in Tallahassee, but we actually go up every year to Chinese New Year, and we all kind of have a reunion there. So that's at the minimum we do that. So my brothers and, one brother's up there, another one's in Alabama. So we all get together and we just, kind of spend that time together. We dress up a little bit for the kids, and we've been doing that pretty much since they were little. So the main thing is family reunions, and then of course there's festivities and food and so forth. And then the celebration part of it, we actually bring some fireworks and we blow some off as well. And then there's the traditional stuff you might you hear, like all that. The Black Cat, that's like one brand. That's all those popping ones here, the really loud stuff that people hang. I hear it's like a little thing of one of the little decorations that we use. So this is like a medium-sized one. It's just stuff that we hang around the house during Chinese New Year when we bring out the decorations and so forth. We put it around the house. Actually, I brought two out. Here's another one. Stuff like this.
That's really nice. Yeah.
Long tassel.
Almost as tall as I am,
It's big, about 2 feet. So we got small ones, big ones, and so we decorate the house. Red is an auspicious color, so everything's red, and reddish. And then of course the main thing is when you're a kid is that you get these red packets called ang paos. I got some. These are some simple ones, and so it's they're depending which dialect you might hear them called hong paos or ang paos, and they can be used as in any special occasion or holiday, but they're really more tied to Chinese New Year. And as a kid, of course, my main memory is getting these from, my parents and all the relatives. So when you have your reunion dinners, basically the day or a couple of days before Chinese New Year, you go around visiting, and basically the elders give you an ang pao. And then the cool thing about it is that what they do is besides the money you get in it, it's actually the cool thing they do is they go to the bank and they get crisp new uncirculated money. So basically you pull out like a fresh dollar bill or a 5 or whatever, and basically, you go to the candy store. So that's what's cool about it, is just getting the fresh new money. And it's just a symbol. Everything about Chinese New Year symbolizes like a fresh beginning, fresh, the new harvest season that, going into that and so forth. New luck, new year. And you clean out the house, you do a lot of cleaning. So it's not spring cleaning, it's basically cleaning before the new year. You have your reunions for all your family, and then you basically celebrate for like 15 days. We don't get that here, but we get a day or so, I guess. And that's pretty much Chinese New Year in a nutshell. So there's simple ang paos. And then, over time, they just got more and more elaborate. So like you'll have, just beautifully colorful, special edition stuff and things like that. These are just larger ang paos that we've got. And so we will meet up and, my parents will start first and hand an ang pao to my kids. And then, the next eldest child and so forth, going to, down the line. And I think I have one picture. Let me see if I can do this right. And we would dress up in, I'm not sure if I did it right.
No, it looks good.
Did it show like my two girls?
Yeah, I see it.
So this is actually her year. She's a year of the tiger. So that's some of the traditional dress that they would dress up in when they receive the ang pao. So, and they're called cheongsams. So that's an example of some of the, they dress up like that. And we also, some of the adults sometimes will put on the top also.
All right. And so, Anthony, so you're originally from China, correct?
Malaysia. I was born in Malaysia.
Malaysia,
Chinese
okay.
Malaysian.
Okay, Chinese Malaysia. Okay.
My wife is from Singapore.
Okay.
And her family's also from China. She has a dad from China.
Okay. So what would you say is the biggest difference from celebrating here in Florida versus in Malaysia? Because you said you celebrate for 15 days, right? So
yeah, the length of the time is as long as that, and businesses are closed, and it's just very much like a big downtime. Whereas here it's just it's not celebrated as that. Over there you just get that time off. Here, it's just whatever's available. And it's just a different perspective. We just can't get that level of celebration. But over there, you get you start off strong with like the reunions, and then the celebrations and the fireworks and so forth. Here we do go to we try to go on like within the first couple of days, when like some of the local restaurants or even the science museum and zoos, they'll have like a martial arts demonstrations. They'll celebrate the Chinese New Year, and so we'll go and watch like the lion dance, and sometimes they'll do fireworks, or they'll do things like that. So we'll do that. And that's pretty much all we can do here, unless you're in like maybe a bigger city like LA or something, or Houston, Texas, where maybe there's much more celebration, but not in West Palm Beach, Florida. So we just go to the local restaurant or a place that has that kind of activity.
But I'm glad you're able to still have that connection with your family here and do those celebrations. What's interesting is one of a very, very popular astronomy gear, ZWO, from Taiwan. Several of the parts that I'm waiting for my telescope, they're like, we're closed for the next next couple of weeks because we're celebrating Lunar New Year. So again, here in the West, we have to be aware that, other places in the world are celebrating holidays. So I think that's really cool that, it's like we're seeing that connected, and now I can envision these friends of mine who work for this company, what they're doing now, during this time. So that's really awesome. Now, do you have a favorite, your absolute favorite tradition that you celebrate this during this time? Like, do you have, is it the fireworks blowing everything up, or is it the
It's I can't say I've got like a one favorite. It is the whole package, getting certain foods, dumplings are our favorite. That's very auspicious to have that. And some people, well, it's very typical to buy new clothes. So you buy one new outfit to, start the new year off. So as part of the cleaning, as well, you're getting rid of old things, but you're also starting fresh. So having a new outfit, a new dress or something like that. And then, we don't get it here as often, but like the roast pig, the roast pork. So that's kind of like the favorite, but we get that when we can at some restaurants. And when we get together with my family, we don't always celebrate on the first day because we just try to get together when we can on a schedule where everybody can meet. But we'll do like the fireworks. So I'll buy some here and we'll bring it up there and shoot it off, like the big stuff. So the kids love that as well.
Now, Anthony, you and I are big rock hounds as well. So for those that aren't aware, rock hounding is collecting rocks and minerals and specimens. Are there any rock hounding activities that you do during this time? Do you exchange your favorite amethyst crystal with somebody, or?
No, unfortunately. Just nothing rock related in this case.
All right.
So maybe I'll start at something new.
Yeah, there you go. We got let's start a Lunar New Year's rock hounding extravaganza. That would be fun. So thank you so much, Anthony, for bringing this out. I think it's awesome. I learned a lot actually from this. So I think it was wonderful that you were able to spend some time with us, and of course you'll stick around. And for those that are interested, who have any more questions for Anthony, don't forget we do have that Q&A. So for those that are on YouTube watching right now, you can always leave a comment, and we'll hopefully be able to answer that question later on. But if anyone here who's watching live, if you have a Q&A question, be sure to write that down, and I'm sure Anthony, you would love to answer some questions. But Kat, you have your own traditions and celebrations, so let's hear about those.
Yeah, so it's a little different for me because I'm third generation. So my grandmother is from Korea. So there's been a little bit of disconnect for me growing up, because like Anthony mentioned, it's not as easy for us to come together. It's not nationally recognized. So, and there's a lot of distance between us. But as more of an adult, especially for my daughter, it's been really important to really reconnect with some of those traditions. And it is my grandmother's favorite holiday, which might be the case for a lot of people, kind of like, Christmas is for us here in the US, or Thanksgiving. But I do have a couple of pictures too. And there's a lot of things that are kind of similar, and that makes sense because there's a lot of sharing that happens across countries in Asia. So this is on the left. You can see my screen okay, I assume. This is my lovely grandmother. She is in traditional Korean attire called a hanbok, and this is my grandfather next to her. So similarly, we will often dress up for the occasion. Again, not so much here in the US as they would in Korea, but it is also a big gathering of families, and they'll travel. It's usually about a week. They'll travel to wherever the older members of the family are and gather for a reunion. And they'll play games too. So there's a lot of games for Korean New Year. One to the right that you can see is Yut Nori, which is a lot of fun. And Derek, as you were talking about Jupiter going through the constellations for the Chinese, it reminded me of the path you take in this game. It makes me want to look up the history of this a little bit more and see if there's a connection. That was really cool. And we do have some gift exchanges. So I'll pop over. There's also food involved. Dumplings for us is also very special. These are rice dumplings. Oops, I didn't mean to go ahead there. Rice dumplings. And what's really interesting to me in the Korean interpretation is it's kind of like a birthday celebration, but for the whole country. So they kind of acknowledge this everyone turns 1 year older on this day. So that they're not quite as individualized in their birthday celebrations. They actually celebrate the whole country as being 1 year older on the Lunar New Year. And they do exchange gifts. I lost my little clicker here. There we go. Instead of red envelopes, we have these little cloth pouches instead. And then we also have sweets, dumplings and things that we give. And it's also a time to honor your elders, both living and deceased, and your ancestors. So when they visit their elder family members, they'll give them a deep bow, which is a very formal bow in Korea. And they'll also bring gifts, usually of fruit, to the shrines or the memorials to honor those who have passed and their ancestors. So it's very much about family, just as Anthony pointed out for his family as well. So I will stop sharing.
All right. So that, yeah, I mean, as you can see, there's kind of a lot of, there's obviously some intersects, but there's some awesome differences that, you know, I love seeing how everywhere around the world has just amazing, interesting traditions. And I learned a lot today. Right now, we want to see if there's any questions or anything like that. Kat, do you have any questions for Anthony, or Anthony, do you have any questions for Kat? Or
I do.
Okay.
Those pouches, for ang paos, it's pretty much just money. But are there anything particular that goes in that's given in those pouches?
The same thing. It's usually money.
Okay. All right.
Usually, and they often will do like coins and things. It kind of varies, but and then the little kids will get those from the grandparents and so forth.
Gotcha. Cool.
It was funny, Anthony, when you were telling us about the envelopes. One of my friends who's a teacher, her Chinese students would bring her lottery tickets in those envelopes around the year. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
My mom used to do that for any holiday. It was the lottery tickets. So I think that's money and lottery tickets. That's all you need, right? You know, for anything. So, but I think it's really cool that about the one thing I thought that was really interesting about the money thing is that's new, crisp money. I mean, that definitely looked like a brand new $5 bill, Anthony. I mean, it looked like
it's that first fold, that smell, you know, it's just like
Yeah.
that. And when you're a kid, when you get that, I mean, even if it's $1 or $2, whatever, but you go around, you go to everybody, like you just collect as much as you can, right? And even if it's coins, and you just have all this new money, and it's just like, you know, you say, of course, you gotta give it to your parents, and they'll give you some to spend, and then there's some to keep, you know. That's how it's done. And we do it for our kids too. They get like 10%, and the rest goes into savings.
Hey, that's a great way to start it, right? That's a great way, a good teaching lesson too. All right, so we mentioned earlier that for those that obviously were here earlier, what I'm going to do right now is before we finish up with our presentation, we have a chance to win something really, really, really exciting. And what I have here is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because as you can see here, I want to put together a wheel of names. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to literally spin the wheel, like, you know, Wheel of Fortune. And whoever this lands on becomes the official winner of this in particular. Of course, all my menus is this amazing Year of the Water Tiger. My brother, Brian Demeter, who's an artist. So it's kind of fun how I'm the science guy and he's the art guy. He was gracious enough to donate one of these stickers that he made of this really, really cool piece that he worked on for this program. And so what we're going to do now is we are going to spin the wheel. And if you win, I'll make sure to write in the chat the email address that you'll email me your information. And then I will go ahead and send this to you. So now, of course, Brian, I think you're on here right now. Obviously your name's on here because there you go. So but we do have everybody else, including our amazing panelists. So thank you, Kat. Thank you, Anthony, so much for being a part of this tonight. So you have a chance to win this as well. We saw somebody one of the names on here has dropped, but they were in here earlier. So hopefully if they win, I'll figure out a way to get that information to them. But yeah, let's go ahead and spin the wheel. All right. It's Catherine Hunt. Cat Hunt. There you go.
Oh,
All right. So Cat, you are the winner of the Year of the Water Tiger from Brian Demeter. So congratulations. I guess, you know,
make it
that's
one of our great viewers, though.
well, you know, do you want to go ahead and do another spin? Do you want to go ahead and, you know?
Do that. I didn't know I
Okay.
wasn't on the spin.
All
I
right.
want
Okay.
the
Very
thing
well.
to happen.
All right. So, okay, Anthony, are you on the same page, or do you want to do, are you?
Let's have the participants.
All
take it.
right, participants. Okay, so if it lands on you, we're all right. Well, actually, we'll get rid of both you, Kat, and there we go. Okay.
Happy to have won it, even if I don't get it.
Okay. All right. So here we go. We're gonna do this again. Here we go. All right, Susanna Garcia. Congratulations, you have won the Year of the Water Tiger. Yes. So let's see. Let's check to see. Susanna, are you still on? Yes, you are. Yay. All right. She says sweet. All right. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So all right. Well, so Susanna, be sure I'm going to go ahead and I'll write my information. We're going to stop the recording here right now. Unless there's any other questions, I want to thank all of you for attending this celebration. And happy Lunar New Year, everybody. And thank you for coming out. And for those that are on YouTube watching this later on, thank you for watching. And hopefully we'll see you in the new year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great one.